pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. I will take a motion to approve the agenda.
I will make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor? Is everyone? Community recognition?
No.
Do you want to talk about anything with consent agenda?
No. No.
Okay. I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Jason, a motion and a second for the consent agenda. All in favor? Is everyone? Let Mindy discuss our go-to-market for the approval of the bond.
Correct, so our bond issue that we passed last April, we split those bonds up for interest reasons. So we sold the first 13 million, was that July? And so now we're ready to go sell the rest of it. And so this is just a resolution allowing them to go out to start that sale process. And in that process, then they'll bring back to us what those rates are and how much additional interest we'll earn on those rates. So it's saved us from not going out and having this interest this whole year as we are doing all the planning for the bond construction project. And we're getting ready to share, I mean, I know to public, they're like, where are we at? Just that planning process. We had another 4-hour page turn meeting today in that planning process. And the new construction will be going out to bid within the next week. It'll be out for 4 weeks, and so we will approve that in our March board meeting. And that way then we can procure and get going and get started, get them on site here. Probably start seeing things really happening in June is the goal. So, but this allows us to go ahead and sell the remaining of those bonds and take them out to procurement. Resolution.
Any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the bond go-to-market resolution?
I'll make that motion.
I will second.
I think that's a great idea, splitting it up too, so that deferring interest, that's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. I have a motion and a second. All in favor? That's everyone.
You'll sign away there. Thank you.
And next is discussion items. First is policy update.
Yep, so we've got another round of MSBA, we've got another round of MSBA policy, so this is 2024D. And this is our first reading, so we'll go through these 3 different times. And I've just glanced at them. I haven't even dug in real deep, but there's quite a bit on attendance and some of the school calendar day that changed from Simple 727. There's quite a bit on board meetings, setting tuition for our district, and a little bit on recording votes and closed meetings. So I'll read through that and see what that's about. So just an opportunity to read through and see specifically if we have any concerns, and we'll go through those, and if we have any additions or changes, we'll bring those to you guys.
I didn't see anything that was dramatic.
Significant.
Attendance, we might have to make some adjustments to some of our policies. but
We are.
Some of those attendance things are pretty, I was kind of thought over the top.
Mhm. And we're working right now, our administrative team at middle school and secondary levels, we are looking to totally revamp all of our attendance policy. And instead of the 2% grade reduction, looking at loss of credit, but that's after being placed on probationary period, and a plan to improve the attendance. And so our whole goal is we have good attendance for the most part as a district, and so having a plan that's easier to monitor for everybody, and then a separate plan for that 5 to 8% of students who have that chronic absenteeism. So we're working on that, and that'll come to the board this summer to adopt and change on those handbooks as well.
Questions or comments? No vote required on this one, just read.
Nope, just letting you so you can check it out. Well, second reading, I'll let you know if there's anything that we want to adapt or change. With MSBA policies, we can adapt it to meet A lot of it is language, just change in wording and language due to legislation. Nothing's new. And then third time they look at it, we'll board approve it.
Next item is our academic focus report for I-Ready mid-year data review.
Yes, bring the girls up and get it. Dr. McLean is going to share some of our student academics success.
Okay, so we met earlier this fall and shared some baseline data with all of you as it related to our math as kids were starting the school year, where they were at with math and with literacy. So this program, I-Ready, that we use, will give a diagnostic screening 3 times a year, kind of like going to the doctor 3 times a year to check your cholesterol. So in the past, with MAP scoring only being done in the spring, and then you wait till the next spring to do it, and then you wait 6 months to get the results, how do you get that opportunity to intervene whenever a student falls behind? Or how do we look at our curriculum to see if there are holes? Well, how do we get that information so it's timely so that we can make real adjustments? Because even if you have the best quality of a teacher in a classroom and they're teaching the wrong thing in alignment with the teacher next door to them, maybe innocently, then how do we know to step in? So you have to have data to make that decision. So the I-Ready tool, now that we've done this twice, you can see the gains that across the board, 1st grade through 8th grade, have made in the reading category. So this dark green represents students who are already at their grade level, even though they're only halfway through the school year. They still have how many more instructional days that we can grow this dark green area and more students would move into the mix. Because we would all assume that when your student starts at the very beginning of the school year and then to the very end, that they're going to grow. So there's typical growth, there's stretch growth, and there's a lot of means by which we'll go to that. So by measuring this in the fall, you see we went from 14% to 26%. By measuring this in the fall, you can see the yellow means they're 1 grade level behind. Well, at the beginning of the year, you should be a grade level behind. You haven't finished all of the grade that you're in. So in theory, as you go throughout the year, we gradually move the color scheme to the right. And we pay attention. We can dive deeper into the weeds to see the students who are at risk, the students that are 3 or more grade levels below with literacy. There's a lot of things that even through state law and just through our own best practices that would trigger interventions. But now it gives us more timely feedback. Instead of just guessing, how do you feel, sir? I feel great. Okay, let's take you off that cholesterol medication. That doesn't make sense. So this helps us and we intervene in those capacities. When we talk about the weeds of literacy and where we're going with science of reading, these domains are also studied because, for example, high frequency words, maybe we don't need to teach that so well because look how we're really knocking that out of the park. But maybe we need to revamp our curriculum in the areas where we're not growing at the rate that we feel like we could. Vocabulary, comprehension overall. So it gives our teachers great tools, gives our instructional coaches and our lead learners, our building learners, the information they need. If you don't mind scrolling down, you have the.
Well, I think I was going to say too. You hear just some of the common degrades against public education, and one of them is kids can't read. And so when we look at this is great information for us to be able to say we have a lot of our students are above where we want them to be at this point in the year by the end of the year. So I think that's just really encouraging, and it's something we should celebrate with our teachers and take a lot of pride in the great job that they're doing.
Well, and I think that's something educators, one of the things caught us on their Destiny Commissioner said, when a legislator says, our kids can't read, she said, you can't prove that.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't.
Mm-hmm.
This proves that they can.
Right. Right.
Yeah, how, just out of curiosity, so when you look at the sections that are 2 grade levels below and 3 grade levels below, I mean, that accounts for 21%, if I'm reading that correctly, right? Currently, most recent, which is shrinking, that's good. It was 30%. So, I mean, this is really the first time we're doing this, so do we have an expectation of where we hope to be by the end of the year, or how do we judge that?
This is the first time we are doing this, that's correct. I can relate to the first diagnostic and the second diagnostic that I saw in a previous school district. Our gains are really good. I was ecstatic over our data. It was awesome.
And I think it's important what we do with those kids that are in the yellow and the red. That's where our MTSS process comes in, and we provide additional interventions for kids in yellow and even additional interventions for kids in red. Or some of those kids in red may already be on an IEP or have a 504, maybe getting some interventions regarding to specific reading. But the nice thing here is we can break it down by kid, and we can look at one specific kid, and are they low in all areas, or are they low in a couple, and we need to focus more, drill down deeper in just vocabulary. So it just allows us to personalize that per kid a little bit deeper than we've been able to in the past.
I have a
It
silly
also-
question too to ask, to go along with Keith, and I apologize
No, you're-
for this, but when it says 3 or more grades below level, but we're counting, these are percentages from grade 1 through 8, is it actually worse because we're, first graders, how could they be 3 grades behind?
The
Well,
majority of
but-
that data is gonna be from your upper level students, because like you said, at first grade in kindergarten, how can you be 2 or more grade levels
Right.
behind? Hopefully, through this data, we can find out how everything scaffolds together. If we are maybe doing something, teaching to run skill, maybe we're overemphasizing one of these domains versus another, at the second grade level, we can intervene better and earlier so that it doesn't extrapolate over time exponentially to cause such a major issue with 7th and 8th graders who sometimes even struggle with motivation of learning. We want to hit them early with our great elementary school teachers when learning is ripe and the kids are just eking to be taught. But this helps us to teach the right thing, other than a first or second year teacher just saying, I think they're learning, I think they're getting better. Now we give them more skills and tools to figure out which scaffold area needs the most attention. So hopefully over time, you're not gonna be able to fix this overnight. You sit down with an 8th grader who's struggling or doesn't want to learn, a good relationship can move the needle. Where we move the needle is by aligning everything K through 8. I'm sorry if you had something else to share. It takes time to get better at growing this.
Yeah.
I think, and then just to expand on what you're saying, sounds like that because we can drill down into the individual, being able to intervene in second grade when they're having an issue keeps them from being an 8th grader that's 3 grade levels behind, right?
Yeah. Report by grade level, by kid, by building.
So if you scroll down, we can go into details about each grade level. And so what I stress with administration on is this. So we have building data that we can look at, and you can tell a little bit from the middle school components that number's a little larger. But if you have a second grader who's maybe been transient, has moved around, or there's been holes in their learning, and they're a grade level below at the end of second grade, and we just send them home for the summer, and they come back and they go to 3rd grade, they're already starting behind the 8 ball. Extrapolate that by 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. Sometimes it's, I'm done, because I don't understand it. So this really helps us to go back and start over again and build back better, sorry to use that phrasing, but in a way just grow our abilities to teach versus just, hey, we love them every single day, which I know we have and we've had for decades, but now we can actually add some scientific data towards it to get better at our practices. We're going to become more efficient using this tool, and there's other tools like this, so we can get better at using this. We unfortunately had to, with the snow, we lost the PD day where we were going to have some of the iReady people come in and help us to dive deeper into this. Luckily, at our 2 elementary school buildings, we have 2 rock star instructional coaches, and they tear into it. They're becoming experts already in 6 months. And they shouldn't call me, they need to call them. They are the pros at this, and they are very good at this, and they're passionate about it. It's a little harder at the middle school and high school, but we expect our admin to become the lead learners in this, and they have been taking that very seriously. So we can dive down into grades, and what I would want the admin to do is this is not supposed to be something that's punitive towards a teacher as much as it leads us like a flashlight to where there are holes in the curriculum and why. It's the job of the lead learner then to go in and supervise that.
Will the teachers have the right resources to help those students that are behind, or are they going to be sent to a special class?
Both. As we build our systems, as we readjust our resources, we've gotten training on MTSS. We don't want to take away from a student who's a grade level behind. They're still entitled to that year's new information. So a bad practice would be if my son started 3rd grade and is grade level behind. Do we just take him out of the 3rd grade content because he's at the 2nd grade level? Well, if you just do that, he'll always be below grade level. He's entitled to the new information and getting the retraining, the reteaching. So that takes some great organization. That takes training from an admin to change the perspective, because for years we've always done it a different way. So it's a little bit of reforming the way we've done things and rescheduling and getting everybody to participate, be a part of teaming. So
Well, and
it's
since
a little bit
Dave
of both.
came in, he really challenged both the primary and the elementary. In the MTSS process, we have tier 1 intervention, which means everybody gets grade level instruction. And we weren't always practicing that way. And so he's really challenged that to be a priority, that we're not pulling kids for sensory, for OT, for speech, for PT, for mental health counseling. We're not pulling any students from tier 1 interventions, tier 1 instruction, because we see the value in it. And so it's been a shift in mindset for teachers, and it makes scheduling really difficult when you are the speech pathologist and you have a certain number of kids you need to pull, but you have this big chunk of time that every teacher is teaching reading and language, and you can't pull kids at that time. So kudos to the staff and to those building leaders for taking that on and having the buy-in to believe what it's going to do, so that all students can get that tier 1 grade level intervention. And then we build those other supports around that. And it's worked, but there's been some tug of war and it's been a hard shift for sure.
As surprised with that first slide as I was with how many started out and still are in the 2 grade, 3 grade below, as you look at the actual growth that's happened in one semester, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It is impressive.
Really
Exactly.
impressive.
With a completely new program.
And there's gonna be a piece to that was them being comfortable with a new assessment and how to test, especially little kids, how to navigate the test and utilize the computer to do that. So there's a little bit there too, but still it just shows how overall, how many kids are on grade level for us at this point in the year already, and that's a big kudos to our teachers and our families working with those kids.
So to further answer your question, Mr. Brown, one tool we're giving them is iReady has a learning path, which takes their diagnostic data and then gives them assignments kind of based upon their needs, backfills buckets, so to speak. So even your high-flying 8th grader who's in Algebra 1 went straight from 7th grade math, skipped 8th grade math content to go to Algebra 1, it's going to backfill like geometry concepts for them that they're not getting in Algebra 1. So it's kind of just a great thing to lean on to make us more efficient, no differently than the calculator made us more efficient with basic math skills. We're sending an email versus sending a letter. So we just got to keep using technology in a positive way to help impact student learning.
Awesome.
So you can, if you have any other questions on this, we are also going to recognize our teachers. You guys are invited. We're going to move that to February, who met typical growth. It did really, this data helps us because if you look at our MAP scores from a year ago, the grades that were really, really high, that scored well on that, didn't grow as much because they're already achieving really high. Whereas the grades who had lower scores, like just say a cohort, I'm going to make one up, a 6th grade last year scored poorly in math, they had major returns midway through the year. It's helping them backfill. So we want to incentivize that with the teachers so they practice it, they're using it routinely. We have a lot to celebrate.
We had a big lunch planned and organized on our PD day for those teachers to come in, and so we could celebrate with those that made the achievement goal. We'll I think February, we'll push it to February. So if anybody's around and available, we'll send that out to you guys. You're welcome to come join and celebrate with those teachers.
I don't mean to pile on, but in a positive way, but I mean, when you look, it's good to look at percentages, but when you look at the actual student
Number.
count, and you see that you went from 144 students that were 3 behind to 99 students, that's 45 kids that went up grade level, just from 3 to 2 at minimum. Impressive.
It just shows me one thing, if I had to walk away subjectively, we've got some really good teachers. We do. But there's little things we can do, and I know they're going to appreciate it because, wow, you take a good teacher and you tell them, you're going to make me better, they're going to eat that up, and they are. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, that's great information.
Both Dr. McLean, kudos to him. In 6 months, he's done a lot. He's brought in just a wealth of knowledge and building that rapport. And we tasked him when we brought him on to, his job is to make sure we're focusing on education. And we've gotten so far away from that since COVID. And we focus on the teaching and learning. And he's done a great job of that and making me stop and have conversations about teaching and learning too. And that's what we're here for. So it's been a breath of fresh air for sure. So thank you, Dr. McLean.
Nothing else on the discussion items. Our next regular board meeting will be February 19th. 7 PM for open session. And seeing nothing else on the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn open and go back into closed to finish up.
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Jeff.
I will second.
Thank you, Terry. Motion and a second, all in favor? That's everyone. Thank you, everyone. Go home and get warm.